September 8th. Killed my buck yesterday. He is hanging on the back there. I'm about just under 2 hours into my hike out of here. I got Garrett and Nate meeting me about halfway at the bottom of the big nasty hill, we call it. Man, I'm lucky to have a couple buddies drive 4.5 hours, hike in easily 2.5 hours in the rain to help me haul this thing out of here.
Well, we're loaded up. We spent the night here at the trailhead and had a very late morning, getting everything ready, packed up.
Yeah, wouldn't have given me all that whiskey last night. I wouldn't have been late.
There may have been a little bit of whiskey, but that's a risk I was willing to take. So, yeah. So we are going to head out with our two friends, as you can see back there. That is Apollo and Conquista. We are here in the Book Cliffs, about ready to head out on our limited entry deer hunt. Don't know why we wouldn't.
So my friend Garrett is about 100 yards above these deer right now, maybe less. He's on the left. He's coming in slow now. He got a little bit of speed. We're trying to beat the sunshine hitting these deer before they stand up. There are 5 deer in here. We can only see 2 in this video. The other 3 are to the right of these 2 deer. And one of the bucks we think is the buck with the inline. That's a real good buck. I think when Garrett comes out, he should have a shot right about 35 yards at these deer if he wants to shoot the 4-point on the left, or the other deer that are just to the right of these deer. His shot will be probably 45 yards. But Garrett's coming in now. It's about 11:50, so we're 10 to 12. These deer are gonna get up and switch this bed. We know because they did yesterday. They switched right around 1 o'clock. So Garrett's probably got about an hour. It'd be good to get him down there before then, but so today's my first day alone on my 2019 Utah deer hunt. I'm hiking out to my glassing points, and it feels like that's all I've done for the last 5 days is walk and hike, which is not a bad thing, but my body's telling me about it. I worked really hard to try to make this easier, but it's never easy. But I've seen some good bucks. This morning I closed the distance to within 100 yards of a cool 4-point that's pretty wide, and it's got a sticker coming out one side. I don't know if he saw me, heard me, had an intuition, smelled me, thought I had a good wind, thought I had a low profile, didn't think I made any noise, but I don't know. He got to 100 and knew something was wrong and dropped off the ridge. After a more careful look at some video I've taken of another buck and then shared it with a couple buddies, although the one with the sticker, the wide one, was my number 1, they've got me convinced that this other buck I'm seeing is my number 1. I've made several stalks on the wide one. A couple times backed out without bumping him. This morning, I was set up in a really good spot with the wind. I kind of guessed where he's been going in the morning. Turned out to be a perfect guess. He didn't, well, almost perfect guess. He didn't turn. I had him at about 150 yards, and he didn't go down into his favorite little hole to spend the day, which if he would have, I am almost positive I would have got a shot. And he ducked into another little canyon. Well, I'm pretty familiar with that canyon, so I angled around downwind of him and hoped to cut him off, and I did. And they slowly fed towards me for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and a dog barked. I'm 11 miles from the nearest trailhead, and a dog barked. There's no cattle up here. I have no idea what the dog bark was. The only thing I can think of is like somebody chasing bears, maybe, or somebody that's just up here camping and has a dog. But as soon as that dog barked, it put them on high alert, and there was kind of a standoff for 5 or 10 minutes. They were looking lots of different directions, trying to figure out what the heck that bark was. And I don't know if my wind switched a little bit or they picked up a little movement when I moved my hand with to check some ranges with my rangefinder, but they busted. It was kind of a heartbreaker. Last night, I got busted by 2 does right when I got to where I wanted to be for the night. Tonight, the squirrel back here has been going nuts for 10 minutes. I think he's telling the whole world I'm here. So, I watched a buck bed this morning that we called Tripod. I first got video of him back in June, and hold on 1 second. Turned him up at the first part of this hunt, and he got bigger. Now 2 weeks later, he's even bigger. Still got his velvet. He looks like a great buck. He's bedded with 2 other bucks, and they're on an east-facing slope. I was real surprised how early they bedded. They bedded up at about 8:30. The other day I saw bucks feeding as late as 10. So I'm not sure when he's gonna get up. I would guess sometime around 10:30, 11 and shift. And that's when I hope to get my play on him. and I thought I was on them. I thought we're coming down to the end of the hunt, and I'm gonna make it happen today. Watch. And I sat there for 7 hours today. 10:30 to 5:30, and finally at 5:30 the wind started swirling a little bit, and I got poking around, and that whole hillside was in shadows. One of those shadows are out there feeding, so they just weren't there. So I decided, since I hadn't had a drink or any food in 7 hours, I backed out, and I'm gonna make tomorrow my last day. And that was kind of what I was thinking. I thought, I'm gonna back out. I'm not gonna spook him. Hopefully get on him tomorrow. I got one last day, one last chance. Well, I'm on my way out. It's been over 2 weeks. It's been like 16, 17 days that I've been in here with these two yahoos. There's Conquista and Apollo, and no buck bringing out. You know, I am disappointed, but I'm more disappointed in myself because I could have made it happen. I made several mistakes, mistakes I shouldn't make. I've made before. Shouldn't make those mistakes again. But all I can do is learn from them and get better next time. I think I'm done hunting out here, unless I can find a way to sneak in a weekend or a day here and there, which is tough because it's a 4-hour drive to the trailhead to get here. So if I'm gonna backpack in this area or chase around deer somewhere else here on the books, it's kind of hard to get down. But overall, I loved it. The deer hunting was great. There were big bucks, it seemed like, in every canyon to start, until we pressured them pretty good, and then they kind of switched canyons. But some did, some didn't, and couldn't catch a break. Couldn't get one to bed down in a good spot. Just would do everything right and then have something go wrong, and so it was a tough hunt. And that just reminds you that deer hunting is not easy. Just because you see people on social media with lots of big critters doesn't mean that just because you draw that big tag and you put in a ton of effort and pay lots of money for llamas and come into this backcountry and scout and still come out empty-handed. I could have killed lots of bucks, but not the kind of buck that I waited 9 or 10 years for. I'm more satisfied going home empty-handed than I am killing some dink, because I can kill a dink on the general season units. But this is a special unit, and you don't kill special deer unless you are patient, and I was patient. And I'm happy about that part of it. And I certainly have my regrets, but not like sadness, not regrets to the point where where I wish I wouldn't have applied for this unit or something. I mean, it was everything I hoped it would be. This hunt was, anytime you spend however many days in a backpack in a tent without a shower, without ice, without a toilet, you just learn something about yourself and makes you appreciate everything you have back home and people you love. And tonight I'm staying in the trailer when I get back to the trailhead. Tomorrow night I get to cuddle up next to my little pregnant wife and enjoy the comforts of home and really appreciate them, and probably watch some football and drink a beer, eat some pizza, do a number of things that you can't do out here. So anyway, it's been a good hunt. If I'm able to get back down, I'll check in again, but this is probably the end. This is probably the end of I'm making a video here that, number one, nobody cares about. Number two, I'm never even gonna watch because I didn't kill a critter, so it's not like some memory I'm gonna remember. So maybe I need to make a memory of a hunt, make a video of a hunt where I didn't kill a critter. We'll see. See how much time I have. So I was having a little, I guess, regret when I was going home. Not regret about this unit applying here, but just regret about coming out early, because I did come out a few days early. I was tired, I was beat. Actually even started feeling like I had a little cold. I had had a little sprained ankle. And you know, I was really missing Danielle and my dog and our baby's kicking, and but on the way out just felt like I got to find a way to come back if I can. I mean, this is it. This is what I live for. This is what drives me all winter long, and in the spring to get on a bike and to do squats and lunges and keep myself in shape and motivate me. And you know, I'll be disappointed in myself a couple months from now if I don't do everything I can to get down here and just experience this one more time. Whether or not that's killing a buck or just getting down here to have these experiences again. You know, I don't know exactly what it is, what drives me, but I just have this need to be here. But at the same time, I was kind of torn this time. Once I got home, before I ever came down here, you know, right before the hunt, you know, I wasn't really feeling homesick. I was excited. But after spending 17, 18 days down here and then going home for a couple days and seeing Danielle's sweet face and feeling our baby kick for the first time and having my dog cry when I got home, really made me homesick about coming down here. I guess that's the term. Again, you know, to think for 4 or 5 days I'm going to be gone again. I was kind of sad, but at the same time, I think I'll be happy with myself if I do this. And you know, Danielle, she told me I mean, 5 days isn't the end of the world or whatever, right? But Danielle, she understands me and she gets me, and she's not like, yeah, I would really wish you'd stay home and start planning things for the baby. She's all supportive, and she just says, go down. I know how much you're passionate about this. I know how much you love it. Go do it. And it's just so nice that I got a supportive wife, and she wants me to do this stuff, and she knows what this does for my life. Well, September 7th, my wife's birthday, and this morning I came over to look for a buck that Garrett and I saw about 3 weeks ago. Real nice, typical, good eye guards. I turned him up this morning at, it was pretty early. I watched him feed for well over an hour. He had 2 other smaller 4 points with him. But right before it was time for him to bed down, I lost them. They were moving. I could tell they were moving towards bed, and the sun was on them. I lost them. That was probably around 9:30. I was way up on top of Mountain Peak. It's actually this one right there, through the trees. And at about 11 o'clock, I spotted one of his buddies as I was checking the score at the Ute game. Go Utes! After I spotted him up there, I just kept my eye on that smaller buck. I wasn't sure it was one of the bucks that was with him earlier, but fairly certain it was. And about 20 minutes after I saw that smaller buck, this one I'm after got up, and I watched him feed for 10 or 15 minutes. And then he bedded in a group of scrub, in some scrub oak. And it was right around noon. But it was hot. The sun was out, wind was going uphill. And there was a rock ledge just immediately behind him, uphill from him. And I thought, man, if I could get to that rock ledge, I'm going to have a 30, 40 yard shot down on him. So I hustled off the ridge, swung around behind him. You know, obviously made some really, took some photographs on my phone, some good reference points for the downhill hike. I could tell I had a good wind the whole way down, and I'm hiking back down here right now. Actually, and the wind was good because it was making a little noise, so I could make a little noise myself, and it would conceal me. After I got to my reference points, I dropped my pack, still went in. I had my boots on for another 150, 200 yards. Then I dropped my boots, and I marked them with my GPS, which is lucky because where I dropped them was like an abyss of places to lose your boots. But then I found there was a little gully that led right to where the deer was. I just jumped in that gully, and it was perfect because it was quiet. It was dirt and not big loud pine cones like I'm walking in right now, or leaves. All this was with my boots off, you know. And so I made my way down that gully, and I started seeing the trees that I knew that they were in. And I got to the rock ledge, and at first I turned up one of the smaller bucks, and he was up. He was actually rubbing some more of his velvet off, but he was making quite a bit of noise, so it was easy to spot him. So I just decided to freeze and stay right there, and I got glassing around, and I could see the buck I was after bedded. I could see his horns. And at the time I could see him through about a 1 foot diameter hole in the scrub oak that was in front of me. That's all I had, was a 1 foot diameter hole just to see his horns. And the more I looked at it, I got out the rangefinder and I was clicking on him. It said 30 yards. And so, you know, I had an arrow knocked, and I stood there. It seemed like an eternity. I think in reality it was probably 20 minutes. Saw his horns go forward, and I saw him stand up, and he stood right there. And I got my bow drawn, got my bubble, and, you know, I made double sure I went through my shot routine in my mind, and I let it go. 30 yards.
Step in front of a runaway train, just to feel alive again. Pushing forward through the night, aching just to blur aside. It's so far away. It's so far away. Cold wind blows into the skin. Can't believe the state you're in. It's so far away. It's so far away. Who are you trying to